And happy Halloween, PSWs and friends. And welcome to our spooky PSW podcast for Halloween. It is October 31st, 2025. My name is Miranda Dolanovic. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association and host of PSW Podcast. And of course, again today, I have my co host, Ian De Silva, who is the Chief Operating Officer of both OPSWA and CANSWA. And we are here today to bring some spooky PSW stories straight from the mouths of PSWs to all of you guys out there. It's going to be an interesting one. I got goosebumps already.
It's gonna be good.
It's
Yeah,
going
so
to
we got quite spoiled with a lot of stories. So today's podcast is just for fun. It's just these are just the views of the people that sent in stories. So we're just doing this lightheartedly. So we hope everyone enjoys. We have a lot. Where do you want to start? Because there's a long-term care has a lot of emotions and there's a lot of things and all the settings our PSWs work and deal with all these issues with the end of life and all that stuff. So just before we start, Miranda, what stories do you have anything unusual to happen to you when you were a PSW?
I do.
Okay,
I
let's do
actually
one
have a
yours
few.
first. Okay, do
Okay.
one. Do one.
You do yours because you also did work in an old building when you were working for a
Yeah.
numbing company.
Okay, I'll do
And
mine. I'll do mine first because it's really fast. Okay, so my story is but 20 years ago I was working as a recruiter, and we were in this building in an industrial area, and the office that they set up for our division was new. It was relatively new in an older building. And as I was there, the lights would keep going on and off. We didn't have ability. Like I'd go one room and it would come back and the light would come off. And I'd always see shadows on the wall. Now I always presumed that the shadows were because of the traffic that was going on behind the building. But when there wasn't traffic, the shadows would still dart around. So I explained to someone one day, and I'm like, well, it's weird. I keep seeing shadows here. But I go, the place must be haunted. And she goes, well, they're like, no, it's not haunted. She goes, but this part of the building in the early 1980s was used, in the late 80s, was used as a hospice center for the very early AIDS individuals in Toronto. So this was a palliative center. And I was like, I see. Okay. So there was a
uh,
weird energy there. So that's my story. That was it. I know.
that's weird. That's
It was
weird.
a
Well,
weird one.
I worked in long-term care, and for those of you that are watching that don't know, I am a PSW of almost 20 years, and I worked primarily in long-term care. My career as a PSW, and I remember I was working. It was my first night shift ever working in this very small long-term care facility,
Mm.
and where the nursing station was kind of in the middle. So like where we were sitting at the nursing station, you could see down one hall where a bunch of rooms were, and then you could see down the other hall where a bunch of rooms were. And of course, as usual, there was a Hoyer lift in the hallway. There was a bunch of wheelchairs, always, middle of the night kind of thing. And I remember I was sitting at the nurse's station with my charge nurse because it was just her and I on shift. And I looked up because I heard a noise. And I looked down the one hallway and there was a wheelchair in the middle of the room or middle of the hall. And I went, that's weird. I'm pretty positive it was at the side of the hall, when I went down there to do
Yeah.
my rounds. And I kind of just brushed it off as people do. And I kind of put my head down, started charting again, and I heard the noise again. And I looked up and I'm staring and at this point, it's the nurse and me. And we're both staring at this wheelchair in the hallway. And we're like, is that really happening? Are we thinking we're seeing things or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this bloody thing started going down the hallway by itself, slowly but surely making its way down the hallway until it hit a wall. We just kind of sat there in absolute terror, looked at each other, and just kind of ignored it because we still had like 8 hours left on our shift.
Oh, lovely. That's
Yes, but one of my other favorite ones is I had this resident when I was working in long term care that used to always fix our uniforms at the back. So she'd straighten our scrub tops or whatever, and she was a sweet old lady. And I was standing yet again at the nurse's station, and unfortunately, this woman had passed away about 2 days prior to that. And I was talking to someone, and all of a sudden, I feel my uniform get straightened from the back. And I turn around, and there was no one in there.
ugh, that's not good.
So, like I'm getting goosebumps talking about this stuff.
It,
Like it's just
it's
creepy. But you know what I love about this, though, Ian, is when we put out the call to the PSWs to share their spooky stories,
yeah.
they really actually came through and sent us some amazing stories. Oh, yeah,
Let's
let's get into
let's
it. Why
dive
don't
in.
you share the first one?
All right. So let's do you want to start? I'll start with the very first one, and then you can do the one after if that's all right.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
So this one is I think from Courtney. We don't have a last name, so Courtney's a PSW. So These are really quick stories. We're not going to be taking up hours or anything. So I was working night shift in a small old dated retirement home that was dimly lit by wall sconces located next to a funeral home. Oh my God. Okay.
Right there, the setup's bad.
I was the only staff on shift, laundry in the basement with a locked door, no resident access. On two separate occasions, but both around 3:30 a.m., the dryers were emptied and thrown around the room and clothing everywhere. No resident access. I have the only key. I am the only staff. Ghosts. Them ghosts be playing dress up in the residents' clean laundry. Now that is some bushy. Okay, that is yeah. Yeah. Okay, so what we have is a locked laundry room and the clothes being poltergeist around. I guess.
Oh, that's
That's
just
crazy.
I don't even know how to respond to that. That's scary as all hell.
I think she
Well,
covered it. They want to play dress up, but that's
they
still
want I think she's right, but that's still scary when you're the only staff on shift. And I mean, it's scary to begin with. Just the way she set up that story was scary.
yeah.
Like it's oh okay. So the next one we have
Wow.
here.
Okay, that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was a really good one. Okay.
Thank you,
At
Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney. At the retirement home I am currently at, I had probably only been there for a year. I was walking alone on the second floor. It was mealtime. So most of the residents were downstairs in the dining room. As I was walking by a couple of rooms, I heard an older gentleman whisper singing, "If you go out in the woods today," the teddy bear picnic song. I'm getting goosebumps. Very eerie like. It was so audible though. I thought it was a resident behind me. When I turned, no one was there. Weird thing was, the gentleman's room that I had just walked past when I heard the singing had previously passed away a few days prior. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever experienced, and I hightailed it out of that hallway. To this day, 4 years later, I still swear I hear the whistle of that song from time to time when I walk by that room. I have
Oh,
goosebumps.
yeah, me too. Actually, I got them right.
Yeah, I
That
can't.
was freaky. So okay,
That
that
yeah.
break for a second. She's hearing the song "When You Go Out in the Woods."
The
I'm not gonna
woods
sing.
today. Na, na, na,
Yeah,
na,
that
na.
song, even in innocent, sounds kind of creepy.
Wait, what?
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's
yeah.
some myths around that song. I don't know what they are, but I remember hearing them when I was a kid or something. And she,
Oh yeah, no, that's like it that so thank you to whoever sent it has sent that in. That's creepy and I would be running by that room or trying to avoid it at all costs if I was that PSW. Or I'd be in there with ghost equipment, one or the other.
oh wow, yeah, yeah. I'd be trying to see if I can capture it on like recordings because
All
yeah,
right.
that's
I know
such
that's
a specific
crazy.
song too. Okay, do you want me to read the next one?
Yeah, please read the next one.
Okay, one night shift, I was a 1-to-1 for a resident. Oh, wow, an actual 1-to-1 ratio. That's unheard. Sorry.
Yeah, well there you go. That's the story.
It's terrifying. Everyone wakes up screaming. The resident had a double room with a roommate. The co-resident was bedbound and used to be a pastor. I had been sitting in their room since 10:30 p.m. in silence as they both slept while I was just doing some charting on the iPad. At exactly 2:22 a.m., the co-resident's radio turned on full blast, playing distorted and choppy Bible verses and hymns. Seriously? Okay, I have never jumped so fast. I turned off the radio and unplugged the cord. Nobody touched the radio. It was across the room. When I got up to turn it off, the co-resident was laying in bed with his eyes wide open saying, "Hello? They are now there. Did you see them?" Oh, he said, "Sorry, hello? They are here now. Did you see them?" This scared the crap out of me. I had to sit in the room for another 5 hours. Oh, you poor soul.
Oh my
Oh my gosh. Okay. Where do you start? Okay, go ahead. Everything's normal. The charting, yes. The rate, okay, yes. You're 1-to-1 care. Bible verses and hymns.
yeah. It's random because you don't find that on the radio in
I
a distorted voice. Like, oh my God, we could dig really deep into that one or
he's a
hit it off the
pastor
ghost
too.
adventures, whichever that is. But I mean, that's
Pastor.
really creepy. Oh
I
my
mean, he could
God.
have been. Okay, hold on. He could have been listening to a specific channel, but
Maybe
for it to
still
come on at 2:22 a.m. I don't know.
big time. All right. Okay. So next story is second story is again another night shift. In the middle of the night around 3 a.m., a bed alarm call bell rang. My coworker went to turn it off and realized it came from an empty room. where a resident had just died earlier in the day, turned it off, and left the room. 20 minutes later, it went off again.
Hmm.
We turned it off, feeling creeped out and uneasy. As we were turning around and walking out of the room, we heard the click of the call bell being pressed, and the alarm went off again. Quickly turned it off, and we realized that the window was shut and had never been opened after they passed. Opened the window and left the room, and the call bell did not go off again.
What's sorry, I don't mean to jump, but what's the relevance of opening the window? Sorry, you've
So
lost
their
me on this one.
so their soul can leave.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
they're not stuck in the room. So that's a very big thing in the palliative world is you respect the soul, and the soul needs to leave. So when they pass, they need to be able to leave the room, and that's the quickest way is through an open window.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another question to this one then. Okay, because those of us who don't know a lot about the mechanics of call bells, they're not like an iPad button, which is can be censored by anything. These are mechanical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of them are mechanical. So either they have the ones that are, you press down on,
Yeah.
or you have the ones that you have to pull. I'm thinking this is the one they had to pull because what it is, it's attached to a switch on the wall, the
Right. It
line,
comes down. That's
and
right.
it
Yeah.
comes down, and that's the audible click that they would have heard. Hmm. Yeah, no, no, thanks. Yep, yeah, and
Yeah.
the
Okay.
crazy
So
part is you have to, you have to finish your shift. You can't leave. And then she said, of course, there's countless times I've seen shadows, heard sounds, or had residents tell me there were people in the room. And then she put laugh out loud on night shift is a scary place. Apparently.
okay. Wow.
Good
So
God. All right.
that
Okay.
is that's a spooky one. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
The next story, and we're rolling along here. We promise this isn't going to be very long. So the next story is from a Colleen, and I'm going to read it, and then Miranda has our next story after that. Okay, my excuse me. Hi, my name is Colleen, and I have a spooky little story to tell you about for your contest. Oh yeah, this is a contest, and we will be awarding a prize.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Excuse me. I was working in a long-term care facility, and we had a resident who snored very loudly. Her room was way at the end of a long hall, and you could hear her snoring all the way up to the nurse's station. Okay. When she passed away, her family came and cleaned out her room and left her clothing, and said the staff and other residents were welcome to go through her closet and take whatever they wished. Okay. She was the same size as me, so I gladly took a couple of her sweaters that I always admired and thought it would be nice to have a little memory of her. Okay. So far, normal, nothing. I brought them home and took them downstairs and put them in my laundry room to be washed and went about the rest of my day. That night, I jumped in my bed, grabbed my book, and started reading. As I was getting ready to turn off the lights, I could hear someone snoring. Needless to say, I was a little freaked out because I live alone. Okay. Sorry, I want to kind of turn a corner. I thought, oh my goodness, someone was in my house. Okay. So I turned on all my lights, started searching every room, looking in closets, under beds. I went downstairs and searched every nook and cranny. The snoring had stopped and there was no one. I then spotted the sweaters that I had brought home from work sitting beside my washing machine. I thought, no way. Could the snoring be coming from them? Well, I wasn't waiting to find out. So I grabbed the sweaters, ran upstairs, went outside to my car, threw them in my trunk, and drove to the thrift store and put them in the donation bin. I never heard the snoring again, nor did I take things home from residents. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed my story. I still get a little chuckle out of this story every time my dad called it the case of the snoring sweaters. I would often call me and start, and he would often call me and start snoring over the phone. Okay,
Oh, your
your
dad's
dad's the
mean,
best.
Colleen.
I love
That
that.
is wow. Oh,
You
that,
know,
but that freaked me out. I mean, just like picture that for a second yourself that you're lying in bed, you're reading a book, about to go to sleep, you live alone, and all of a sudden you hear snoring.
snoring's unsettling even when you know the person.
Right?
Let alone like there's no one there. Jeez, you lose.
Oh my God.
And kudos to your father, because I think that's just
He just
I
made
don't
it
know,
fun.
that's the ultimate dad joke. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. So the next one, actually, Miranda, maybe hold off the next one.
Sure.
I'm gonna read a really quick one. Um,
Sure.
okay, so this is a really next quick one. The next one's a little longer, and I was working in a retirement home in the laundry room, clothes. What's with the clothes? At about 2 a.m., I heard my name called as clear as day. There was nobody in the room, and the hallway was empty. My partner was the only person awake, and she was across the building. Okay, I just want to tie that one in because it had clothes too.
Ugh, I don't like
Okay,
that.
so clothes. So I guess the lesson is I don't know what the lesson would be if you,
Don't take residence things home with you.
but it's a
I
perfect good sweater.
I know, but you know what? I mean, I don't know. I don't know a
I
lot
get it.
about
I
this
get it.
stuff, but I know enough that I wouldn't be taking residence clothes home.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, or anything. Oh God, no. Anyways, all right. This one's called The Man in the Basement. And honestly, when we talked about this last week on PSW podcast, we were talking about this special spooky PSW podcast. This was the story that was top of mind for us because I believe it came in last Friday. And this one's very scary. It's called The Man in the Basement. It happened many years ago, back when I worked in a very old, very dated nursing home. I was starting my midnight shift down in the basement, gathering supplies and stock to bring up to the floors. The place always had a certain heaviness to it, the kind that comes from years of life, laughter, and loss echoing through the halls. As I was restocking, I heard shuffling footsteps, then a faint click, like a cup tapping against a handrail. I froze. It was a distinct sound of a walker, not the kind with wheels, but the kind that slides and scrapes gently along the floor. I peeked out into the hallway and saw one of my residents. He had his back to me, slowly pushing his walker down the hall. And when he reached the end, he turned it slightly, the way he always did before sitting down to rest. I thought, oh no, he must have wandered down here again. So I shut the light in the supply room and went to catch up with him maybe 30 seconds later. But when I stepped out, he was gone. The hall was completely empty. The only thing there was his walker, and on top of it, a cup. I figured maybe he managed to make his way upstairs, so I searched the basement, then the first floor, nothing. Finally, I reached the second floor where he lived. I asked the staff, hey, have you seen Mr. So and so? I just saw him in the basement. I was about to bring him back up. They all stared at me. One of the nurses said softly, Katie, he passed away earlier this evening, just a few hours before the afternoon shift ended. I couldn't believe it. What? That can't be. I just saw him.
Keep
They
going.
told me, they told me that his body was still in his room. When I went to see for myself, there he was, lying peacefully in his bed. His walker wasn't in the room, but I knew exactly where it was. That whole night, none of us could shake the chills. I can still hear the shuffle of his steps and the faint tap of that cup. Let's just say midnights is my least favorite shift. Ugh.
Okay, that's scary. There's like so much there.
Oh,
Wow.
so much to unpack. So much to unpack.
Do you feel like what kind of building it was? Sorry, I just want to go back up.
Yeah, she said it was a
Very
very old,
da-
um,
dated
very,
nursing.
yeah,
Sorry, I
dated
just went
nursing
back there.
home. Yeah.
Wow, that's creepy. So she sees the walker. She sees him in there. So somehow the walker got into the basement under its own accord. And his drink. He didn't forget his drink.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's so much to unpack
Oh,
with that story. I know, I know. So I'll just do one other one really
yeah,
quick.
go, go, go,
One
go,
of the
go.
short ones
Yeah, yeah,
says
yeah.
picked up a night shift and had an empty room because a resident had passed away. The call bell kept going off. A few times I turned it off, went to turn around to leave the room. The moment I turned my back, the alarm was going off again. Spooked me right off.
Yeah,
It would spook me right out too.
oh, remember that story that you were told by that lady at the event?
Yes, so this one is actually interesting. So I actually had met this wonderful woman named Linda at one of the events that OPSWA was at, and Linda is a former palliative care nurse, and she used to work at a hospital. And she had this young lady. She was in her 30s. She was a new mother, and she was actively dying. And this woman did not want to die. She was very adamant about not wanting to die, and she fought. This woman fought and fought and fought right up until the very end. And unfortunately, her body made the choice for her. And when she passed away, it was up to the nurses to take the body down to the morgue. And they had to go through two sections of the hospital that had been shut down. So there's nobody in these sections of the hospital. There's no patients, there's nobody. And so they put her, of course, they put the sheet over her, and it's herself and another RN, and they're moving this body down to the morgue. And the first unit they had to go through, there was 4 doors in a row. So like, patient rooms in a row.
Okay. Yeah.
Nobody in them. Remember, nobody in them. It's dark. Like all there's emergency lights on in these places. And as they're going through, as they're pushing the gurney past each door, the call bells go off in each room. And they kind of brushed it off a little bit. They were like, this is the way she told the story. She was like, yeah, we were just kind of like, okay, cool, cool, okay, keep going. We just got to get the body down to the morgue. And then they went through the second unit, and this one had 3 rooms that had, and as they passed each room, the call bells went off. And she said that her partner RN was like, suddenly they were running to get this body down to the morgue.
Yeah.
And they realized very quickly, they kind of made the assumption that this woman didn't want to die, and she was hitting that bell
Like she
with
was
the hopes
actually
that,
going down the hallway. Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
as they were going
Okay.
down the hallway, she was like, it was in sequence to them moving the gurneys past the doors. And I was like, I don't know what I'd do. I'd be on top of that gurney.
I'd be wheeling her back. She does not want to go. We got to take her back to her room. Okay. Like this is not happening. We're going to give her another 24. And that's not a policy that anyone would endorse or should endorse. But I mean, that would be my instinct. Like, okay, this is spooky. Okay. I forgot about that story. That one's not
Yeah, yeah.
this, by the way. That one's just a bonus.
That one is just a bonus. Absolutely.
And it ties it during a resident's walk. During a resident's walk of life, her call bell rang. Nobody was in that room. We were all outside already. What's walk of life, Miranda?
So we honor the life that she lived. So a lot of times what will happen, or walk of life, either she's donating organs as well. A lot of times people will, healthcare staff, family will line the hallways as she's being moved to where she's going. She's
Okay.
dead. But yeah, that's pretty freaky. The next one is, my partner and I were providing final care to a resident during the middle of the night. Well, anyways, I asked my partner if he could grab a fresh gown. Not long after he left, I heard a tapping behind me, and I ignored it, thinking it was rain or something on the window behind me. Then it stopped, and I heard a man's voice behind me whisper my name. They are watching us.
For long, I'd be out of there. They're watching you. I'm gone.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that one or this one. A better alarm that would not stop for days, even when several PSWs unplugged the cord.
Like that other, actually, there was that other story that that same lady told where she said they had that Hoyer lift in the back room that was, I don't remember it exactly, but it was unplugged, but the thing kept going up and down and up and down. They called the electrician in, and he's like, "There's no power. This shouldn't be happening," but they said it's happening, and he's like, "I see that, but it can't."
He
So
goes, here, then he goes,
and he's
didn't
like,
he say,
I don't
give it
remember.
to the next shift?
Yeah, he's like, this is a next shift problem, and then that was it. Like, there's limits. This is where there are limits to health policy, and this is some of them.
Yeah,
Start
just a
moving
little
into.
bit. Just a little bit. Do you wanna read the next one?
The next one's really quickly. A bad alarm that would not. Oh, that was we did that one. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Okay, let me do the next one. Okay, this one is Okay, it's this. An RPN and myself on night shift at a long-term care facility, catching up on our weekend off news. Our conversation was cut off by a child's voice saying, "Mommy." We, we both froze and then asked the RN, did anyone have a child with them on evenings as they were leaving? She said no. We walked around the unit. Everyone was in bed except for one. We found him, a rather militant, tall, sometimes aggressive resident, sitting in the lounge. When he turned and saw us, he said, "Did you hear the kids?" After that, the RPN made me go in each room first for a few weeks. Bad RPN.
What's with the kids?
Sorry.
Yeah, I know, but what's with the kids? Like when we posted this on Facebook, everyone was like, "Oh, the kids. They always see the kids." And I'm like, "Stop with the kids. That's
It's,
freaky."
but it's not just these stories. You hear this like in like all through society. You hear that when you're dying, people say they see little kids in the room or
They see loved
children,
ones.
little girl, loved ones that you hear about. But it's the children that are strangers to these people, which is weird.
Kind of
Like
odd.
it is odd.
Yeah.
And then
Okay,
hearing
this one.
mommy in the dead of night in a long term care facility. That's It's not a good sign.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
No.
Had one lady that used to ring the call bell nonstop before she passed, and every 10 seconds when she was end of life. After she passed, when we were bringing her out to the funeral home, her call bell rang as we got to the door of her room. A week later, around dinner time, her call bell went off. The room was still empty. Mm.
Weird.
These call bell
So
things.
call bells are haunted. Maybe that's the thesis we should be looking at as an association: haunted call bells and how to purge our society of this evil. It's, I guess, I mean, if you're thinking about it and you're a spirit, that's your communication to the world still. Like maybe
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, yeah.
I don't
We
know.
got a couple more here. We're almost done, but oh my God, so far, I mean, I am just, bleh.
So yeah, and then this is the next one. Before patients die in our traditional care unit, I'm just going to jump to this one right in. Um, they ask us to get the kids out of the room, and then they pass away within hours.
You know what? Weird stuff like that happens though. Because when I worked in long-term care, we had a woman named Olga, and
Uh,
she was like far end dementia, like she was, not there. But every single time that Olga would have a freak out, like, and she'd lose it and she'd cry and scream and stuff like that, we'd lose a resident. She
Weird.
was our measuring system. Like, it got to that point where she was so bang on. Every time that she did that, we'd lose a resident. But
That's
we
creepy.
listened for her. It's like as soon as she'd start up, we're like, uh-oh, someone's gonna pass tonight. Yeah.
For the other residents felt when they heard that going on too. Great.
Right? Yeah, great. Who's next? Yeah.
Damn it, Olga.
Yeah, I know,
Never watch
right?
TV tonight. Um. Okay. I'll do the next couple. I think Brand to wrap it up. I think you got the
Yeah,
next.
absolutely. So I would hear or see a cat, orange and white. I'd ask to coworkers, said that a resident had one and was able to bring him in, but it had passed. Another time, an outside worker was working in a room. He came out to get a PSW to ask if they could remove the elderly person out of the room. They went and there was nobody there. Imagine being that outside worker.
Well, you wouldn't be scared until after the fact.
Yeah, no, no,
No,
absolutely.
like
Yep. And then there's this is one of the last is we have one room in our long-term care home that strange things happened. The commode rolled to end of bed, turned at the end of the bed and rolled straight through the bathroom door and stopped by itself. Call bell would ring when room was empty. The very first resident in that room was mean to everyone. It's interesting. And then of course I had to put in here because it's what they posted on our social media. One of the PSWs was the children exclamation mark exclamation mark. Everyone sees the children. So I would love some more explanation on that if anyone has any insight into that. But
I.
the children, like, God, that's creepy. Or
Here's
of course, the very last one is the last four patients in the unit, but in different rooms reported seeing a man in a hat darken the doorway. They're on different levels, these
fourth bear
patients.
first.
Of course. I mean,
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
Those are some
real scary stuff from PSWs. I think it's like someone once said to me, if you work in healthcare, you cannot not believe in the paranormal
stories.
because you see it.
The stories are endemic. Even if you work, like even in the administration, sometimes you see stuff and you experience stuff. So it's spooky. Just another element to deal with in frontline healthcare. Interesting
Why
element.
not, right? We're
Why
already dealing
not?
with being understaffed and stressed out. Why not add a couple ghosts to the party just for
Yeah.
fun?
Yeah. It just seems like why not, right? But that's where healthcare is interesting. This is where like this is like where the world of the health policy, that cold clinical world of healthcare, and that end of life spiritual world touch. And
It's interesting.
and you see it, like you see these things. It's for those
And
of you
that's why you have
who
so
believe
many
in it.
PSWs that are interested in the paranormal and
Well,
you know what I mean, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I bet if they could, they'd take their ghost equipment in with them to work, but you can't.
the
So
spiritual side of it is a huge part of what PSWs do. I mean, that's the whole idea of bedside care. That's the whole idea of being nurturing. So I'm not surprised that these people, the PSWs, are her membership would be sensitive and open to this. So I'm convinced it's spooky. I
convinced too, absolutely.
so
So this was an extra kind of long PSW podcast that we did today,
we're done.
but we want to thank you guys for joining us for our spooky PSW podcast. on Halloween. We're wishing you guys all a very safe and happy Halloween tonight. For those of you that are working tonight, may the powers be with you. Have
And
fun on your shifts.
and tonight is the final night of the World Series for those baseball fans, so it will be on tonight. I'm sure it will be a very interesting Halloween night. So
Absolutely. It'd be
one
very,
way
I'm
or
going to
the
be
other, it'll
watching
be
it.
interesting.
Go Blue Jays. All
Oh,
right.
gee, let's hope.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining us on a wonderful other PSW podcast. We'll be back again next Friday at 11 a.m. Not sure what we're talking about, but we'll figure it out before then. Thanks again, Ian, for joining me again on Fridays at 11. I will be on TikTok shortly for a quick Q&A. So if you want to hang around, you can do so. And with that, I'm going to say happy Halloween.
Happy
Go
Halloween.
Blue Jays.
Nice.
OPSWA out.